The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Billings Fire Department, Montana, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 37306. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting on the face of the front bumper, just under the front bumper on the driver and passenger side frame rail, you'll find 2 open-ended tow hooks. On the face, you'll find your electronic siren and PA speaker. Just inside that location, you'll find dual air horns. Located in the center is the winch location. And as we move to the driver's side, face of the front bumper is where you'll find your unit identifier location. Moving up onto the top of the bumper on the passenger side, you'll find a swivel discharge. Right next to that location, you'll find a tubbed storage location for hose storage. As we move to the D handle in the very center, this will gain you access to your winch location, including controls. Moving just to the right in the image, driver's side, you'll find an additional tubbed storage location and also top-mounted mechanical siren. Let's move to the outer edge of the cab, where you'll find a turn indicator marker light on both the passenger and driver side. Just inside that location, you'll find the headlight structure housing low and high beam headlights. The high beam headlight is located in the same bezel. It'll be located on the inside. Just above that, the next cluster up is where you'll find your emergency warning light and combination turn indicator. As we move toward the windshield area, you'll find 3 windshield wipers across the seamless one-piece windshield. Moving to the outer edge, you'll find a mirror housing a flat and convex mirror at the top portion. As we move to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find 5 identification clearance lights. Also located over the passenger and driver side, you'll find forward-facing floodlights. Moving toward the driver's side is where you'll find your Opticom. And as we move up onto the top of the roof, it's where you'll find your emergency warning light bar. On the passenger and driver side, it is a split light bar. Up onto the aerial device is where you'll find your master stream device. And then also you'll find at the very top section, you'll find tip lights located on the very top of the ladder section. Let's take a look at some close-ups of the items that we just talked about. First, let's start with the side of the bumper extension, where you'll find side-facing emergency lights. Also, swivel discharge capable of foam. As we move toward the center, this is the location for your winch. And then as we move over to the driver's side, you'll find an additional storage location and top-mounted mechanical siren. Let's move around now to the full view of the vehicle on the driver's side. We'll start in on the cab section first with the bumper extension. This is that side-facing emergency warning light. As we move up to the A-pillar, you'll find a side-facing turn indicator marker light. Easily accessible with gloves on, you can access your door lock and latch combination. It is also a keyed latch. And then also you'll find next to that grab handle for gaining entry and exit into the cab. Just to the rear of the driver's cab door is where you'll find a side-facing camera. And then as we move to the rear cab door, you'll find a side-facing lower zone emergency warning light. As we move back up to the driver's door, just to the rear of that is where you'll find your LED water tank level indicator. And then just above that, you'll find your side-facing scene light. Unit identifier T5 located on the rear section of the cab wall. Let's move now to the midsection, where you'll find the notch housing 2 2.5-inch locally controlled discharges. Also the side-facing inlet, foam function valve, and you'll also find a 2.5-inch passenger side auxiliary inlet, locally controlled at the ball valve. At the very bottom section, all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. As we move now to the full section of the body, you'll find a flip-out step in the notch area for gaining access for the crosslays. You'll also find at the pump panel location a pull-out and flip-out step. As we move to the rear, you'll find 2 folding wheel chock storage locations. Also the side stabilizer. As you can see in this image, just in front of the rear axle is the tire chain. Just to the rear of the axle, you'll find the storage location for your stabilizer pad. Let's move forward of this location. You'll find 2 side-facing emergency warning lights. These are part of the lower zone. And then also as we move to the very top section, you'll find an additional upper zone emergency warning light. There are 2 items within this location. First, side-facing scene light, and then directly under that side-facing scene light is a stabilizer camera. As we move to the very rear section of the apparatus, you'll find a 360-degree emergency warning light. Let's move around to the rear of the apparatus. On the outer edge, you'll find a turn indicator marker arm. Just up from that location is the tail lights, including the brake, turn, and reverse light. As we move toward the inside of that location, you'll find the lower rear zone emergency warning light. As we move up to the top passenger and driver side, you'll find your rear facing scene lights, and then once again all the way to the very top section is that emergency warning light. As we move toward the lower portion attached to the frame rail, you'll find 2 anchor points. These are direct pull only. You'll also find the American flag Eagle Pierce logo. This is your aerial inlet. As we move up to the very top, traffic advisor located in a protective cover, and then also a rear facing backup camera. Let's move around now to the passenger side of the vehicle. We'll start at the very rear section. The only thing different on this side is going to be your exhaust discharge location. We'll move now to the notch area. Main inlet on the passenger side. You'll also find the cab lift. There are instructions for its operation on the placard. We do have a 2.5-inch discharge located. It is an electric valve, and therefore it does have an override because it's electric. Also, large diameter discharge electric valve, and there is also an override. At the very bottom section, color-coded and labeled discharge drains. And then we can see from the very bottom section here, your pump is fully enclosed. As we move to the cab section, the only different item in this area is a side-facing camera located just to the rear of the cab door. Let's move around now to the driver's side of the vehicle, and we'll move inside to the driver's space. First, let's start with the door panel. Affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information. Just up from this location is the combination door lock and also latch. Located in the center is the latch for locking the door. Just up from that, electric window controls for all 4 cab windows and a grab handle. As we move to the stepwell, you'll find the auto eject airline inlet, and right next to that you'll find the auto eject for your shoreline power 20 amp. When plugged into shoreline power, the battery voltage status will display just below the pedestal area. Also, just to note, there is a yellow placard here. We'll go over that in just a moment. Let's move back to the stepwell area. We'll find the air eject and shoreline inlet 20 amp auto eject. As we move back, this is the placard for your vehicle indicating the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, cold tire inflation, the VIN number, and all of the fluid capacities for the component, fluid capacity, and fluid type. Let's move back to the battery voltage indicator. Once again, active when plugged into shoreline power. As we move to the floor, you'll find a foot pedal for the mechanical siren located next to the brake treadle. As we move up to the left knee of the operator dash area, you'll find the master battery switch. It's the silver quarter turn. Also for your module tech, ABS, transmission, and engine diagnostic port. Just below that, you'll find the ABS diagnostic switch, DPF regen switch, an indicator for engine diagnostics, and then also a regen inhibit switch, and then to the very far right, a display. The tech module, engine transmission, and ABS diagnostic parts are for your maintenance team. Just up from that location, you'll find the stationary OK to pump and roll indicator, water pump activation switch, foam switch, and load manager. Moving to the opposite side of the column, you'll find your pump pressure digital readout, water level indicator in blue, and then in green is your foam tank level indicator. Flat mirror and convex mirror controls. As we move to the dash cluster, you'll find the ignition and start switch on the left-hand side, switch labeled EM, which stands for Emergency Master. This will allow you to engage or disengage all emergency lights with one button. Headlight switch, and then just to the right of that, you'll find a switch labeled Panel. This will allow you to brighten or dim lights within preview of the operator. On the opposite side of the steering column is the OK to engage your high idle indicator and also switch. Moving up to the cluster itself, you'll find on the left transmission temperature, oil pressure, DEF level, and water temp. On the right, front air, rear air, fuel level, and volts. Located in the center, tachometer and speedometer. Diagnostic information displays above and below the speedometer. Let's take a quick look just to the right of the operator's space. First, let's start with the pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. It is the yellow diamond located just right next to the steering column. As we move to the top, you'll find your Pierce command zone, a tremendous amount of information right here, your fingertips, touchscreen, and also function button. Windshield wipers on and off, and also a push for wiper fluid. You'll also find the engine brake on and off switch, settings for low, medium, and high, mirror heat, siren brake, which is a red switch for your EQ2B. That's the siren on the front bumper, and then tire chains. Here's a close-up of the wiper and wash. As we move to the right, you'll find your Allison transmission pad with an informational note to pump in neutral, also some caution labels. Climate control for heat, air conditioning, and defrost. As we move just to the right, you're going to find your aerial master, aerial PTO, front wheel lock, stabilizer camera, and also a momentary opticom switch. Let's look overhead of the operator space. Let's focus in on the very left where you'll find this yellow placard indicating the height of the vehicle, 11 feet 9 inches. Length of your vehicle, 39 feet 3 inches, and a gross vehicle weight rating, 57,500 pounds. This also houses the 5-digit job number 37306-01. Switches to the right, Emergency Master, Opticom, Roof Light, Front Warning, Side Warning, and Rear Warning. When any switch has been activated, you'll find the green light will illuminate within the switch itself. Let's move further to the right to an additional switch panel where you'll find your high beam flash, front flood, driver flood, passenger flood, rear scene, and air horn. As we move further to the right in the same plane, we'll find the control module for your electronic siren and PA speaker system, also the control module for your traffic advisor. Let's move to the very center section of the roof line where you'll find a light flashing indicating do not move your apparatus when this light is on, indicating you have a compartment or door ajar. Also, as we move to the rear portion of the driver's seat, you'll find an audible speaker. There is volume control. This is your backup speaker. Also, you'll find attached to the lower section is your manual cab tilt. As we move exterior now, Goodyear tire, Alcoa wheel, and a visual sight gauge indicator in the center. Directly behind the entry door is where you'll find an additional storage location, divider, and dry deck material. As we move now to the rear portion of the cab, first affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, electric window control, and also a grab handle. There are 2 forward-facing seats located at the rear wall of the cab. As we look inside, you'll also find netting inside these 3 compartments, 2 exterior outer side, and then also a center compartment. In those compartments, you're going to find when plugged into Shoreline Power, these outlets become active. As we move to the very base of the center section, you'll find a lift and turn latch will gain you access into the daily checks for your oil and transmission. And as we look inside to those compartments, you'll also find compartment lighting located inside with a switch for on and off. Close up here of the rear cab wall, and you'll also find your fire comm system located on that rear wall. As we move now to the exterior portion, let's take a look at the very top roll-up compartment door. In the upper space, you'll find backboard storage location. You'll also find 2 crosslays located in the upper portion. In the very center, you'll find a latch which allows you to gain access to the speed lay so you can be removed from its housed location. As we move down to the lower portion, you'll also find we have long-handled tool storage on the left-hand side or forward section. You'll also find a warning placard. Because of those lines coming from a loft, there is the possibility of entanglement. That's why we have this warning placard. You'll find the 2 crosslays located here in the lower section, and then also the release mechanism located in the center. As we move to the pump panel itself, you'll find 2 locally controlled 2.5-inch ball valves with gauges located on this side. Also at the very top, a warning placard indicating pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening. Also, your main pump inlet on the driver's side. As we move to the right, you'll find an additional warning placard indicating do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. Also, the control module lever for your foam system. As we move down, also an additional warning label here that when climbing onto the vehicle, always face the vehicle while climbing onto it. And also a locally controlled 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet female. As we move down, color-coded and labeled discharge drains, and then also your step, which does have the function to actually fold outward. Here are some close-ups of those items we just talked about. The 2.5-inch discharges, foam activation for draft and tank, and then also the driver's side auxiliary inlet. Color-coded once again and labeled discharge drains. And here's your step in the full outright position or unfolded position. Let's move to the pump panel itself, starting at the very top. If your pump is properly engaged from inside the cab, you'll find an OK to pump light illuminating. Also, you do have a gauge heater. And then just to the right in the green area is your foam tank for foam A. As we move to the gray area, you'll find the master intake gauge and master discharge gauge. In between the 2 of those gauges are the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They are currently plugged and they are utilized for testing purposes. As we move to the right, you'll find the PCM fault visual indicator and also an audible speaker. The outer edge of that bezel does rotate to allow you to dampen the sound. Our discharge is located across here. They are color-coded and labeled, and all of these are foam capable. Moving to the right, you'll find the fire pump primer push to prime air. For best practices, 1,000 RPMs. You'll also find your pressure throttle governor located on the far right, and then also a FireCom headset location. As we move down on the pump panel, first warning placard indicating that only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment and only after they received proper training. We have our tank fill recirculating line and also tank to pump. As we move to the right, you'll find your Husky 3 module. There are instructions for its operation on the red module itself, and there are also system specifications and instructions for its foam system right next to it. As we move to the right, you'll find the aerial discharge. It is a wheel valve for open and close. We have the minimum operation maintenance schedule located here. We'll go over that in just a moment. And then there are 2 electric valves. These are for the passenger side of the vehicle. First, a number 2 passenger side, 2.5-inch, and your large diameter discharge, which is green in color. Minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 psi. Associated GPM on the left-hand side, and the associated RPM at test pressure on the right side. Also, 5-digit number in the very top section for your job number, and the governed speed while in pump mode, 2,100 RPMs. As we move to the right, we do have an additional danger placard. The vehicle ladder is non-insulated for electrocution. Also an access door, we'll talk about that in a moment, and the very bottom section color-coded and labeled discharge drains. I've got just a close-up of the drain area here. These are just simply lift style. As we move into that pan door just up from this location, this is going to be the foam fill location, the yellow handle, and then also your manual pump shift override, which is a protected switch with an indicator. As we move to the vertical wall surface, you'll find an additional lights and also an indicator pump engaged. This is the pull-out tray that folds outward also for gaining access to the pump panel area. As we move to the next compartment to the rear, you'll find a pull-out tray and also some shelving. Also in this compartment, you'll find your battery charger. When plugged into Shoreline Power, this becomes active. Here's a shot of the image with the tray pulled outward. The release mechanism is located on the right. As we move to the next compartment, SCBA bottle storage for 3 bottles in addition with retaining straps. As we move to the rear of the axle, you'll find the ultra low sulfur diesel fill location. It is the silver cap. To access the DEF, the fold down flap will move downward, exposing the blue cap. Close up here of the SCBA bottle storage location. And then here's a close up of the fuel door. Silver cap is your ultra low sulfur. As we expose the flap downward, it exposes the 4.5 US gallon DEF fill location, which is the blue cap. We'll continue to move just to the right in the image into the next compartment, where you'll find on the very rear wall an outlet. When plugged into Shoreline Power, this outlet will become active. Let's move to the ladder location for access. At the very top section, you'll find an inclinometer. This is front to rear. You'll also find a visual sight gauge indicator for the aerial hydraulic level. Also an additional access door. And then also ladder storage lock down in the lower section on the second rung up. As we move to the rear, you'll find some warning placards here indicating entanglement hazard because those lines coming from aloft. Also ladder storage located on the left-hand side and also right. We do have an indicator here for danger regarding electrocution hazard because the ladder is non-insulated. Also, never ride on the vehicle. That's what this warning placard is for here also. As we move down, we have some additional warning placards here. Direct pull only on these additional access points. And then also crush injury because of the movement of that hydraulic cylinder at the very rear section. As we move inside the pan door, you'll also find the aerial drain. Here's a close-up here of the ladders on the driver's side and also long-handled tool storage. You'll also find a cupped rear scene light switch, and also in the access doors here, this is going to be for your diagnostic information, override, emergency interlock, and then also level assist. As we move down, you'll find the driver's side stabilizer control for in and out, up and down. And then you'll also find a rear stabilizer for up and down. There is also a control module on the other side for the passenger side. We do have a warning placard here regarding short jacking of the apparatus. As we move to the very center, you have additional storage and access panels to the very rear. Just underneath this location, you'll find your overrides located here within this compartment. They are color-coded, and you can see here by the deployment valve and then also by the instructions here, gray indicating for aerial device movement. We also have some danger and warning placards here regarding high pressure fluid and also tip over or structural failure hazard. Let's move just beneath this door area, where you'll find first on the very far left the aerial inlet gauge. This is for your aerial device. It's an inlet outlet. And then also just to the right, you'll find your inclinometer. This is for left, right. And then also at the very bottom, the warning regarding crush hazard because of the movement of that hydraulic cylinder. As we move to the right, once again, fall hazard, never ride on the vehicle while it's in motion, and additional ladder storage. And just pointing out, since we've got a close-up of that danger placard here regarding electrocution hazard. Let's move just down from this location where you find the additional pan door located on the passenger side. This is going to be, once again, passenger side stabilizer control and also rear stabilizer control. As we move around now to the passenger side, adjustable shelving at the very bottom, a pull-out tray. The release mechanism for this tray is located on the lower right-hand side. It will lock into position. We also have a tool board located in the upper portion, backboard storage for 3 SCBA bottles to the rear of the axle, with retaining straps, and then also SCBA bottle storage to the front section of the axle. Let's move back just above this location to the tool board. D-handle gains you access. When it is opened, it will lock into position. On the hinge side is a lock. As we move to the forward position, adjustable shelving and LED light and dry deck material inside. You'll also find the exhaust is on this side. Extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures do exist. Be cautious where you park your vehicle, especially during regen operations. As we continue to move forward to the compartments, these are just over the notch section. These are your cross lays. Same configuration and layout as you have here. The limited factor here is access for the long-handled tool storage. Let's move just down from this location where you'll find the pump area. First, we'll find a warning placard here regarding fall hazard. When climbing onto the vehicle, always face the vehicle. Also, your cab lift, there are instructions to operate for raise and lower. There's also caution and danger information because of the movement of that cab. We do have an additional access door here. Right next to that is where you'll find your passenger side main pump inlet. And then these are the two electric valves. And because they're electric, we do have overrides for those. As you can see, right next to the actual discharge, you'll find just behind the panel is a access so you can rotate and open and close manually those valves. Same thing with the large diameter. As we move to the very bottom, color code labeled discharge drain, and you can see here also your pump is fully enclosed. Close up here of the cab lift operations. You can see the override located right next to the large diameter. At the very bottom section, color-coded and labeled discharge drains, and kind of a close-up here of the enclosure of the pump panel. The step does fold outward. As we move now into the cab section of the rear cab door, you'll find at the hinge point a grab handle, red in color. Also, you'll find a fix-to-door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, electric window control, and a grab handle. Push on and off red and white lens lights at the ceiling level in the rear section of the cab, and also your air conditioning unit. As we move just to the forward section of the cab, you'll find additional storage location, shelf, dry deck material, and also LED lighting. As we move to that axle in the front, Goodyear tire, Alcoa wheel, visual sight gauge. As we move just inside the cab area, let's start first with the door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, electric window control, and a grab handle. Your vehicle is equipped with a supplemental restraint system airbags. They're located here in the very top section. Just below that on the A-pillar is the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. This is also the access panel for your electrical in the lower portion. You will find these red and white candy cane style labels indicating spare wire. It does have the option number and the type of termination. As we move to the dash itself, you'll find in the forward section barrel style 12-volt access, also the air horn, mechanical siren, and siren brake push buttons. And as we move to the forward section, you find barrel style 12-volt access power. As we move toward the center, we do have a cutout location for additional supplies located in this area. As we move overhead, you'll find Firecom control module and the additional warning here regarding spare wiring behind the panel for your radios. And then we move now to the Firecom headset control module. And now let's go ahead and move outside to the aerial device itself. We'll start first. This is a 107 Ascendant aerial, 4 sections. As we move to the very base, you'll find the pedestal located on the driver's side. And let's take a look at the pedestal itself, and we'll identify a few items here. First, starting at the very top is your intercom system for the person at the tip. This is the speaker. Also, we have volume control for up and down volume, and also push to talk. Let's move downward onto the pump panel itself. With the cover in the open position, it exposes the emergency stop push button. We also have tip lights, tracking lights, and then an aerial speed for normal or fast. Also, the very top section, ladder illumination. Those are the lights on the side. And then also remote aerial control activation, giving power to the person at the tip for its operation. Nozzle control and also ladder control. And then also in the very front section, you'll find the control module display, touchscreen, and also push button functions. This is your Ascendant specifications for setup per NFPA 1911 testing. Also, we have information here regarding the waterway dry with a 35-mile-an-hour wind condition, waterway charged with a 35-mile-an-hour wind condition. These are the chart for load charting, also a monitor nozzle position depending on GPM flow. What I would like to point out at the very bottom are some of the asterisk information regarding aerial device with freezing conditions. Moving also on the top section, you'll find warning and danger placard information. In the front section of the pedestal, when accessing this location, this is in the override position here for calibration and aerial manual control. We do have a warning regarding tip hazard if you're accessing this location. Let's move to the base of the ladder section, where you'll find when you come down from the ladder itself, there is an additional step. This step location here does have access with inside this space. As we move back to the aerial device, looking just on the aerial, looking toward the forward section of the tip. As we move to the outside, you'll find a 16-foot roof ladder. Let's go ahead and move out to the very tip of the aerial device. First, we'll identify a few items. First, this is a crush injury warning because of the movement of the aerial device if someone is located on the ladder. Also, a passive intercom, meaning you do not have to push a button to talk. And then to the left, you'll find your ladder control module. I would like to point out extend, retract, right, left, lower, and raise. And as we look to the very center, dependent on the location of this latch, indicates whether or not the waterway is at a lower portion on the aerial device or at the very tip. Also to the right, you'll find your nozzle controls located just inside the lower portion on the right for straight fog, up, down, right, left. To the right, your intercom. Once again, this is passive, so we have volume control. And on the very top section, you have tip light control. As we move to the nozzle itself, you'll find the master stream on and off. This is a wheel valve located here that controls a butterfly. As we move to the ladder itself, you'll find at the tip section 2 fold down steps for getting access to the very tip section. The next set of images are with the stabilizers deployed. We're now going to go ahead and move up to the very top section into the dunnage area or hose storage location. We do have top fill location here for your water tank and also top fill location here for your Class A foam fill location. Let's take a look at the warning placard here for the water fill location and then also a warning placard here for your foam tank. Do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. As we move to the forward section, we also have, when operating in this area, make sure the ladder is not in movement. And also in the very front section of the dunnage, this is your Husky 3 reservoir and hydraulic fluid fill location. As we move to the cab section, this is a non-walking surface, and that's why on each side we have these warning indicating that it is a non-walking surface. General view looking toward the rear section of the apparatus. The next set of images are with the cab in the full tilted position, aerial up. Let's first start just underneath the forward section of the cab area. Your vehicle is equipped with TAC 4 independent front suspension. Once the cab has been fully tilted upright with equal pressure on both the right and left cylinder, place the safety arm in position. Do not lower the cab onto the safety bar. Maintain equal pressure on both the right and left cylinders. Let's identify a few items within the engine area from the driver's side. First, starting with your power steering fluid. Just in front of this location, you'll find the coolant recovery tank. As we move to the rear of the engine, it's where you'll find your oil and transmission dipsticks. Once again, TAC 4 independent front suspension. As we move to the rear of the battery box area, you'll find the hydraulic reservoir for the cab tilt. As we move to the battery box area, just on the bottom section, you'll find the jumper studs, positive and negative. The rest of the images are that of the chassis area. We also have an additional video of the exterior of the apparatus with the emergency warning lights activated. Congratulations, City of Billings Fire Department, Montana, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 37306. If you have any questions, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.